Hello, Mike. I thought this might be the easiest way to show you what I had going on. I hope this is not too boring, and I'm not going to do any edits, so wish me luck. Anyway, I've got the rack on the bike, and I put some red tape on both sides of the brackets to show you on this particular bracket where the red tape is where the outside of the plastic is when viewed from directly above. So you can see on the left-hand side of the motorcycle where this hole lines up with the bracket on the bike. Then on the right-hand side of the motorcycle, again, you can see where the red tape is in regards to where the hole is. So neither one of those are centered up. This one's closer, but both of them look like they need to go farther forward towards the front of the bike because they're at the very back of the hole. And again, this is lined up with the edge of the plastic, and the red tape is also, and I'm going to leave that on when I send it back so you'll see where they're at. Then I wanted to show you that I've got the bracket pushed back as far as it can go in the bolt holes, so they're in the larger part of the keyway, and it does appear to be lined up pretty well on the bike as far as I can tell on the back, and the bracket's shoved back against the back as far as it will go. So that's the placement of that. Now, one of the other things I wanted to show you, and I'm not sure I can get in here very well, but here you notice that the bend on this is relatively close to the plastic, and I'm going to see if I can zoom in there. So you can see where the first bend is very close to the plastic on the left hand side of the bike. Now as I move to the right hand side of the bike, you can see that the bend is out from the plastic quite a ways. So, and I also noticed when I measured, this end of the bar here is further out. So the distance from here to here was about 30 millimeters, where the distance from here to here was about 25. And I'll show you that here in a minute. So anyway, let me zoom back out. So this side appears to be bent out farther from the bike than this side does. You can see it's pretty close to the edge of the bike, but this one almost seems to point out somewhat. So once again, from directly above, like this is, if you're looking right above the plastic, you can see where the bolt hole and everything lines up. And then again, if I go to this side, it all looks like it's way back. And if I try to push it forward, the keyways, as you can see, they're peeking out just a little bit here, but it will not go forward evenly. The spacing is just a little wrong on that. So I've done some measurements and I'll show you. I did want to try to show you this, if I can bend down and pick up my calipers without making us both crazy. Sorry, this is a bit of a rough video. Trying to do this by myself and one-handed. So anyway, again, basically from the edge of the plastic, as you can see, here to here is around 22 millimeter. And then when I come over here to the edge of the plastic and space it out more, it's more around 30. Whoops. So this side's out further. Sorry, I keep slipping. Anyway, then the spacing between these, I measured the spacing on the bike, and my calipers don't go quite far enough, but the spacing between center point to center point of the holes, of course it's hard to hold center point to center point, so I'll go outside to outside. I can't actually quite get there with these calipers on yours, but if I'm trying to hold relatively center point to center point, it's still a little short. As you can see, I've got 150 millimeters. When I did it with a measuring tape, it was more around 155, which I'll show you. Here's the brackets you sent me. So as best I can do with a measuring tape, pushing to the outside, it's around 155. Maybe around 157. Anyway, the spacing, and I'll unscrew this. If I measure on these, and I'm to the outside here and the outside here, you can see it's right around 160. So center to center should also be 160. So my brackets don't quite line up with the bike, or I mean with the rack brackets. And one other thing I did want to show you on these was that, let's do it with this. Probably be better. When I hold the brackets you sent me in place here, I've got it tight up against the plastic. You can see that the shape is much better. The angle that you've bent the bracket at, and again, let me zoom in so you can see better. If I hold it right over top, you can see it follows the contour of the plastic much better. If I can get it to focus, much better, and is relatively well centered in the hole. Maybe not perfectly. If I push it out a little bit from the plastic, it's closer, but if I hold it in tight against the plastic, it's just slightly off. And it seems to follow the contour of the plastic relatively well. If I take the same bracket and flip it around to the other side, you can see that the plastic on the bike probably sets in more, so it's not quite as well centered. But if I push it out to the center of the hole, then it's out a slight bit, but not much. I think these might work. You know, maybe something with just a little bore bend, but these are so close. And I'm sorry if it's not focusing very well. Trying to do this with one hand. However, one thing I did notice with this is that if you can see, let me zoom back out. The plastic tapers in towards the back of the bike more on this side. So if I set this relatively evenly, I'm going to go ahead and push it up against the plastic. I don't know if you can tell from this angle, but if you look at the frame, it's not really squared up with the bracket underneath. Like, I'll slide this forward a little bit to where you can see that it's slightly out of square with the bracket. The plastic is. Not a big deal. I'm sure it's some weird manufacturing thing, or the plastic just isn't quite right. But if I hold it right in the center, it definitely sticks out more at the back, which would be, if I was going to worry about it interfering with the seat, maybe there. It's much closer at the front. But again, same bracket. I know they're identical, both brackets you sent me. This side does seem to fit fairly well. It's almost like it matches the taper on this side better for some reason. Not exactly perfect, but what is, right? So I could get some other measurements, and I did take some, and I can send you some pictures, but I thought this might be better to show you. And you know, again, here's the keyholes, and you can see I've got some anti-seize on there, but anyway, it's almost like this bracket being square, the way it's lined up is fine, but this bracket over here, it's like the whole thing's this leg of it seems out too far from the bike by about 5 mm. And then, and I'm exaggerating when I do it, but it's almost like this bracket almost needs a little bit of angle to it or something. I know you probably can't do that, but it would make it more in line with the plastic if it had just a little bit of angle to it. So anyway, I'd almost rather it push in on the plastic a little bit in the front to keep it away from the seat. I'm less worried about the plastic than I am the seat cover. So and let's see, show you here on this. Sorry again for the shaky camera work. This is what happens when you're not a professional. If I go outside to outside, trying to hold it as steady as I can, which is not working well, but it's like around 150 mm to me. Anyway, I'm sure I'm forgetting 5 things I wanted to show you, but as I've said, it's a stock 2013 TW200, and yeah. Anyway, I can get some more measurements. I have taken some more. I actually even checked the spacing. It's about 130 mm from center to center on both sides, about a millimeter off, but not much. And between these two, let me check that really quick so I can show you. I'll do, let's see, so yeah, I hate to use the plastic to do it, but they're actually fairly well lined up with the holes drilled in the frame. So it'd be about 126, 127 between centers. I moved a little bit. Anyway, I hope that helps. I hope I didn't make you drunk with all the shaky camera work. And thanks so much for sending the brackets and helping.